let's talk a few minutes about what in-wall coordination really means. I think the term in-wall coordination is rather self-explaining, so I don't think that we have to make up more complex definitions for this. In-wall coordination is simply placing and coordinating everything, as Holly already mentioned, everything which is in the wall, what is located on the surface of the wall, and what stands or mounted in front of the wall. If you want to see some examples, for example, for the partition, what the partition walls contain inside, we can think of the structure of the partition wall itself, so the metal studs that hold the partition. Or if we want to place, for example, heavier casework on the partition wall, we obviously need some backing system for that, that you can see on this next image in red. So those backing systems are holding the heavy casework. But we obviously also have some piping routed in the partition walls. In normal or standard cases, in standard building types, it is most likely domestic water based or mechanical piping. But in case of a hospital or in case of medical building, you would also find medical piping, medical gases, and all the different kind of systems. You also have some small pieces of equipment, some elements placed on the surface of the wall. However, it definitely requires some supply system which is placed or routed in the inside of the wall. So if you think of data outlets, power outlets, switches, receptacles, fire alarms, those are mounted on the surface of the wall. However, obviously need some pretty complex conduit system behind it. So obviously requires space as well to place the junction boxes and to get from A to B in terms of outlets. Let's see a couple of examples for what we can place on the surface of the partition walls. And as my case study is a medical building, I will show you a couple of examples for such medical equipment. Let's start with the first one. I think it's familiar for all of us. It's a hand sanitizer. We can even find them in supermarkets all around the place. And it doesn't seem to be a big deal to place it on the wall. No one would really think that it has to be coordinated. However, if you think of a medical building, if you think of a patient room, you can be sure that the nurses and the doctors who enter the room would want to touch such a piece of equipment for the first time. So this would be the first thing that they touch when they enter the room, and also it would be the last thing that they touch and use when they exit the room. So it's quite important to locate it in the right location, in the right place, and it will drive and it will define the location of other pieces of equipment which maybe require supply and maybe require some routing in the partition wall. So it is really important to locate it on the right location. The other screenshot or the other image is not too complicated either. It's a drinking fountain, but it is quite heavy. So the previously shown backing is really required in case of such a drinking fountain, as well as electrical and domestic water supply. As we are talking about medical building, let me show you two medical pieces of equipment. It's an X-ray illuminator on the left side. Throughout the building, we found all the different kind of X-ray illuminators. Depending on the size, they can be mounted on the wall, on the surface of the wall, which is the easier scenario. It only requires then probably some power outlet, some power supply. But in case of bigger pieces of illuminators, we have to place recessed illuminators. And it can also happen that it's not only an illuminator, but a medical screen that you can see on the on the bottom right corner. And such medical screens are placed all around the operating rooms and patient care rooms. As you can imagine, you can review and the doctors can see different kind of different pieces of information on such screens. So they have to be routed and connected to the right server. They have to be connected to the necessary computer. it makes it a bit more complicated to have the right data outlets in the right positions. And some examples for pieces of equipment or casework furniture which is placed in front of the wall, and I think this is the most common example. So you would find office spaces in any kind of building. It doesn't have to be a medical building. On the screenshot, if you can see it, I show a nurse station, and such a nurse station has lots of computers as well as screens, monitors, and obviously some printers and casework. So all these pieces of equipment had to be coordinated with the, for example, with the outlets which feed these pieces of equipment.